find a good way to end it.
So what's up guys, it's Cody of 3D Printing Technology. Today I'm here with Zilla3d. They are a 3D printing service located in California. So thanks for taking the time to do the podcast with me. Can you briefly describe your company?
Yeah, our company, Zilla3d, was actually born out of manufacturing large format 3D printers. And we actually manufacture the Delta Zilla 3D printer, which has a bed of 30 inches diameter by a height of about 42 inches for printing. We also have the Delta Zilla Flat, which even has a larger diameter bed of 36 inches. And we will be having the Delta Zilla Tall, which will actually increase the height by about 20 inches. So it'll be about 62 inches in height, the actual print. So you can actually like print a robot at one time. So that's where we started. But, you know, when you do large format printing, you have some other issues that you come across. Number one, the bed has to be very level and it's difficult over a large distance. Number two, you have to have really long prints because it takes a long time to print these large models. And, you know, with the power, the way it is in the United States, where some places they have brown outages or blackouts for power, you know, you could be printing for 3 days and then you have a blackout and the print is ruined. So we thought we'd figure out a way to do large format printing more easily. And my background is as a chemist, and so I did do a lot of experimentation with different formulas and found a formula that can work with a cold bed, which actually saves a lot of energy because you can print a model over a long period of time without being worried about the bed being hot. It saves on our printers $5 a day in energy costs, which you can imagine is actually quite a bit of money when you add it up if you're using it year round. So in California, where energy costs are more expensive than a lot of the rest of the U.S., our energy costs are something like 25 to 30 cents a kilowatt hour. I know in Washington State it's only about 8 cents or something, so we do pay a lot more here. But still, it does save energy, and that's what everybody wants. And at the same time, we're actually able to print plastics that were very difficult to print before. And one of those is polypropylene. I don't know if you've ever tried printing it. It doesn't stick to anything. And we have customers from Europe now that just love it. They can't believe that now they can actually use polypropylene in you know, manufacturing printing, and they don't even have to worry about the bed being hot. So it's really kind of turned everything upside down. It is very difficult for some customers to accept that you can print on a cold bed. And our biggest challenge right now is to get experienced 3D printers to, you know, accept that it is possible.
That's really cool. So how long have you guys been in business?
We've been in business since 2017, so about 3 years. We've been selling large format printers to, you know, a lot of industrial customers, even defense contractors. And, you know, a lot of them are using our, you know, special Zilla Grip glue. And they found that it's working well for them, especially now. PETG has become more popular
Yeah.
in printing, and it has some nice properties. It's pretty strong, almost like ABS, and at the same time, it doesn't shrink very much when you print it. So cold printing of larger objects with PETG actually is pretty easy to do compared to ABS, let's say. Now we do on larger objects and special geometries, we still have problems printing cold because there is a lot of shrinkage while printing. So what we've done is on our printers we actually have a halogen kit that takes the place of a fan, and what it does is it directs halogen heat, light, onto the object while it's printing, so that it's not heating the environment, but it's heating the actual object where you are adding plastic, so where it's being extruded. And we found that with that, we actually minimize any separation layers, etc., that you'd normally get printing ABS or a shrinking plastic like ABS. We're currently having tested high temperature plastics like Ultem printing cold. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't do it, but it is a very shrinking plastic, and so on larger objects it might be a problem, but on smaller objects that most people actually print, it wouldn't be, I don't believe, a problem. In fact, we've been able to print much slipperier plastics than that, and including nylon 12, polypropylene, as I said before, polycarbonate. All these plastics have been printed on Zilla Grip Coating, and there hasn't been any problem. Now, the coating that we send you, the solution that we send you, is concentrated. And so, for instance, when you're using it for PLA, which is one of the easiest plastics to print with it, you actually have to dilute the Zilla Grip 1-to-1 with acetone and put a light coating. And one of the reasons for that is a plastic like PLA is a low temperature plastic, and you can't really heat it very much to remove it. And so what we found is if you use a very light coating, it actually sticks well enough to print, but you're able to remove it with a scraper after you print without increasing the temperature more than 40 degrees of the bed. So these plastics, what we do is when you're finished the print, you heat the bed to approximately 80 degrees for many of these plastics, and then you're able to take the model off the bed by heating the bed. And so what happens is the Zilla Grip glue actually rubberizes when it's heated, crystallizes when it's cold. And so you get a very firm, hard grip when you're cold printing, but as soon as you want to remove the item, you heat the bed. And this works great for a power outage, because if there's a power outage, the bed stays cold, which is exactly what you want. And the UPS, the backup power that you need in case of a power outage is so much smaller when all it's doing is keeping the motors going or the computer on, and not concerned with the bed. A lot of these beds will only let your UPS work for about 2 or 3 minutes because they take so much wattage when you're actually heating a bed.
It sounds like you're doing some really cool things of building the printers. For the Zilla Grip adhesive, is that on any build surface, or is it just like a PE sheet?
So we originally, because our printers use a glass bed, our large format printers, we originally formulated it for a glass bed, and that's what we experimented with. But we found also that it works with metal beds, so aluminum or steel. And I know a lot of people are using these flexible steel beds now. Mm-hmm. They work fine, so the steel aside. We've had customers use PEI, like a lot of these beds have one side PEI, one side steel or something. And some customers have used it on PEI and they've gotten good results. Sometimes they said, like for polypropylene, it may not work as well on a PEI bed. The one problem with some of these beds that are plastic, like PEI or other, tacked beds, is removing the Zilla Grip. Now, it dissolves with acetone, so we've had customers who have used acetone to remove it from their bed. But normally on glass or a metal bed, you could just use a razor blade and scrape it off. So when it's cold, it's crystallized, and so you're able to just kind of cut it off easily. Now, one of the ways of using Zilla Grip is not removing it and just adding to the areas that, maybe the Zilla Grip has been removed from the model or by the model or something. So you're able to just add to those areas and then print again and again and again. And we've used it more than 10 times without cleaning off the bed, which is a much easier way to work when you're doing a lot of printing. So one of the advantages of Zilla Grip is that you just need one coating for all these different types of plastics. The difference is how much of the coating you use. So you want it like thicker if you're trying to print ABS or polypropylene, thinner if you want to print something like PETG, and even thinner if you want to print something like PLA. So for all these different plastics, it's the same coating. The difference is in how thick you put it on, how much of the coating you use. And so that would be a reason for cleaning off your bed. If you want to print a different plastic that doesn't require as much, then of course it'll be easier to remove if you put the right amount of coating on your bed. But anyways, that's our philosophy on this. We didn't want people to have to spend, I know some of these companies have like 8 different coatings for 8 different plastics, and you have to buy the whole kit. And here, you don't have to do that. It's one coating, all these different plastics. And now your printer is much more useful than it was before, when you thought you could only print, 1 or 2 different things. You thought you needed a special enclosure and all that, and you really don't.
That sounds very interesting. I can't wait to be able to get my hands on some of the adhesive to try my printers. So, is there anything in the near future that you're excited about in the 3D printing space, whether that's Zilla3d or a different company like Prusa or Creality?
We are actually working on some low-priced, large-format printers that will be molded instead of, put together with a lot of parts. That's one of our philosophies on 3D printing machines, is we want them to be, to have much fewer parts, and that's what we do with our Delta Zilla, but also we want to make sure that they can be maintained on site by our customers. And so, like for instance, the Delta Zilla 3D printer, you're able to remove the controller in 2 minutes from any of our printers and replace them. We have color-coded quick connects for all our printers so that the controller can be removed, sent to us for repair needed or repaired by the customer if needed, and then put right back in. There's no, it is open source, and it uses an open source board as well. But because of the way it connects, it is so much easier. We've had customers that have gone down for whatever reason. Sometimes an employee makes an error, which happens a lot in 3D printing. It just happens. And they've sent us the controller. We've sent it back within 1 day. They're back up and running. They didn't have to spend a few $1,000s on a technician coming over to do that. We also have the same kind of situation with other parts of the machine. The motors are on caddies that can be replaced in a few minutes. The bearings are on caddies that can be replaced in a few minutes. The wiring system is easily accessible so that it can be replaced easily. Even the hot ends are on a special easy mount system where you can change the hot end in a couple of minutes with quick connect wires as well, so that you can have a hot end, a dual hot end, a triple hot end, whatever you want ready, different sizes, so you don't have to, play with your hot ends between each print or whatever reason especially research facilities where they have different types of printing that they need to do. So we have that available as well. And our dual hot end is one of the only other dual hot ends on the market that has a easy lift on it, where when you're printing with one of the nozzles, the other nozzle retracts so that only one nozzle is ever touching your model. So that's been, if you do a lot of 3D printing, you know that one of the problems with dual nozzles is when you print with one nozzle, the other nozzle is dragging behind, and it can either leave colors or different materials behind, or it can damage your model to the point where it might knock over something, a support or something that you're working with. So our dual nozzle does have it is an oscillating nozzle, so that only one nozzle is touching the model at one time.
That sounds really cool. So do you have sort of a time frame on this 3D printer? Is it like a concept stage, or is it like prototype by now?
The Delta Zilla that we have now is available now, and the Delta Zilla Fat. The Delta Zilla Tall is going to be available in the next couple of weeks. Now, the rectangular printers that we will have coming out should be out in a few months, and they will have, what we're trying to do is really lower the cost of the printers. So we're trying, I can't disclose what we're doing because of the competition, but we are doing something totally different to make them more affordable, number one, but also we'll incorporate our philosophy of being maintainable by the customer, very easily maintainable. And one of the things that we've thought about that a lot of large printer companies haven't is, if you use a large printer, you have to get it in the room that you want to use it in. And believe it or not, there's a lot of companies never thought of that. And, there's, a 3D platform, big printer company, their printer does not fit through a 36-inch door, which is a normal door in a business. And you actually have to pay several $1,000s for a technician to come and take apart the printer and put it back together on the other side of the door if you need to move it. Our 3D printer, the Delta Zilla, can fit through a 34-inch doorway. So that's all the clearance it needs if you just remove the bed and then put the bed back on. It's just 3 bolts for the bed. So for us, we always thought about whether a printer could fit inside a room. Now, since we want to hit the hobbyist market a little bit, we're trying to get it to fit through a 30-inch door, but we want to have a 24-inch bed. So the bed will probably be 24 inches by 30 inches. So it'll be very large, but it'll fit through a 30-inch door. And so that's what our philosophy is. We want to make sure that you can get it inside the room you want to use it. It shouldn't be left in the garage all the time. Some people don't have garages, and some people don't want to control the environment in the garage, which can be very difficult. Most garages aren't insulated, and so that's a philosophy that we use. Even our Delta Zilla 3D printers, they're half the price of other printers on the market for that size, less than half the price. And they're made in America, which is a benefit to customers since they don't have to pay $3,000 for shipping from some foreign country.
Yeah, especially with all the coronavirus and supply chain stuff going on at the moment.
Yeah, so we've of course, parts come from all over the world, but we've tried to use high quality parts. Our hot ends, we only use E3D parts in our hot ends. Even our dual oscillating hot end, we use parts from E3D and we modify them so that the part that actually is the nozzle and heating the plastic, that is E3D, but the way it's used is differentiated by our construction of the hot end. Our controller, we use parts from Germany. So the hot end is from Britain. Let's see, what else do we part of the controller is from Italy. But it is open source. We, unlike a lot of people in the market, we like using Repetier firmware, and we've done extensive testing, which I don't know, maybe a lot of people don't do, but we have. And Repetier has been the most useful firmware for us. We just found it has much fewer problems in terms of mistakes or errors when it's operating. And so we find it to be much more reliable.
Okay, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do this podcast with us. So to start to wrap the podcast up, obviously you can get the parts and printers on Zilla3d.com, but if the people listening to this podcast wants to follow you for the latest updates, where's a good place for me to follow? Is that Instagram, YouTube, or?
Well, thank you for having us on, and really appreciate being able to get the word out about Zilla Grip and our printers. Zilla Grip, I really believe it is going to be changing the way we print in a lot of different ways. It is difficult to accept that something could be so different at work, but we have a lot of customers that are just amazed at how it is working for them and how much, there's a lot of customers that have, 20 or 30 printers working 24 hours a day, printing with, different materials. And for them, not having to have the heated bed working all that time is saving them a lot of their electricity bill, which that by itself is a great advantage.